I can immediately tell from the envelope that it's not about official matters of any sort. Someone actually wrote me an old-fashioned, handwritten paper letter. Alright, it's time for the Iwanako chapter that is in every route. Who bothers doing something like that in this day and age anyway? Yet, as unlikely as the prospect of receiving one sounds, there's definitely a letter lying on my desk. Classes for the day are over. Still feeling pretty full from the big lunch that I had unexpectedly eaten at the cafeteria, I returned to my dorm, planning on finishing my homework and probably skipping dinner, or at least just eating light. I feel like I need to eat less than I used to. Maybe I don't use that much energy now that I don't do much beyond reading. However, the letter on my desk has naturally caught my interest. It's the first piece of mail I've received here at Yamaku, so it feels special even if it wasn't something as rare as a handwritten letter. What causes me even more trepidation is the name of the sender, written neatly on the back of the envelope. Iwanako. I have no idea what she would write to me. I haven't been in contact with anyone from my old school since I transferred, and Iwanako is the last person I'd expect to want to write me a letter. The last time I saw Iwanako was terribly awkward, embarrassingly so. She came to my hospital room, peeled me an apple out of courtesy, and we practically sat in silence for half an hour. She said goodbye and didn't look me in the eye when she closed the door. It might have been a natural end to the series of visits that were probably pretty painful for both of us. Every time she visited me in the hospital, I wanted to talk to her, but something stopped me every time. Every time that I didn't speak made the next time even harder. Iwanako always had this aura of fragility around her, as if she'd shatter into pieces at the slightest disturbance. Initially, I think it might have been that delicacy that attracted me to her, but after what happened back then, it felt as if she really had shattered. She looked so sad that I didn't want to say anything that might upset her, and I never could figure out the right words to say. I told her that it wasn't her fault. She nodded, and I really think she understood that if it hadn't been that, then sooner or later something else would have made my heart give out. Yet she looked so hopelessly sad every time she opened that door and entered my room. So I never managed to say the things I wanted to say. In the end, that might have hurt her even more. Carefully, I opened the envelope and drew out the folded letter from within. Something I find interesting in all these Iwanako chapters is how much what's different about them in each route. Because they're never the same. I mean, the letter's always the same, but the Hisao's inner monologues aren't. Dear Hisao, how are you? Hope you're well and happy at your new school. Everyone here misses you. Almost all of our second year class got put together in class 3-1 for the final year, so we're pretty comfortable right from the beginning of the year. I'm sure you would have been assigned to this class as well. The mood among the third years seems to be very anxious about the final exams, even though they're so far away. The teachers are badgering about us all the time. Even old Mr. Tachibana, who is, by the way, our homeroom teacher this year. Would you believe it? I was sure he'd retire after his second year, but here he is, nagging everyone about studying for exams. I think things like that are the main reason why the mood among the third years is so nervous. I must admit that I'm somehow losing confidence in myself as well, even though I've always fared reasonably well in exams. It's so weird to think that we're already seniors, isn't it? Time has really flown past. I wonder where it went. The new first year seems so young and somehow really innocent. I keep wondering if I was like them in my first year. I've been feeling nostalgic like this for the whole first trimester. There are other things I want to say. I'm writing to you because I felt that there are things I should have said after the incident back in winter. I really regret that I wasn't able to say them in person, and I have no excuse for it. The truth is, the times when I visited you at the hospital made me worried about you. I'm not talking about your health. You seem to become more distant and disheartened. It was natural after something like that happened, I'm sure, but somehow I got the feeling that you had given up on something back then. Happiness, maybe? I wanted to somehow express my feelings, but the right words didn't come to me. I couldn't say anything to comfort you. I'm really sorry for not being able to support you when I mattered the most, even though I like you so much. At least now finally I can be more honest. If I could go back to those quiet days in February and March, I'd tell you not to give up on yourself. That's what I'd say. Maybe you wouldn't have drifted so far away if I had just said something. I hope you've managed to get back on your feet on your own. Now that the distance between us is also physical, it also feels more final somehow. I wonder if we'll meet again. Perhaps it's for the best if we don't. Still, if you would like to correspond with me, by all means write me back. I very much like to hear about your new school and how you're doing. I wish you all the best. Sincerely, Iwanako. After finishing the reader, I fold it like it was, and after finishing reading the letter, I fold it like it was and place it on my desk. I don't know what to think of this. I feel empty and confused. Why now, after all this time? Just yesterday I decided that I can't let myself stay like this, that I try to get on top of my own life. Reading this letter just reminds me of what could have been. Of course I wish that I didn't have to be here. I want to be in the same class with Iwanako again. Maybe we would talk every day now and go on dates. My life didn't go like that. I didn't really need to be reminded of this. Iwanako needed to write this letter for her own sake, and I'm glad for her that she could, but it would have been better if I hadn't read it. Of course she's right. I thought of the same thing yesterday. I had fallen into a pit of depression and now have to try to climb out. I rip out a page from my notebook, and after a moment of thinking how to frame my words, write a short reply to Iwanako. I find it difficult to be really honest to her, but at least I try to appear somewhat convincing. I didn't write her about Yamiko at all. I doubt she'll write me again, but I don't feel at all sad about it. I fold my own letter to her, and as I have no envelope, set it next to Iwanako's. I'll mail it to her later. Then I lie back on my bed, looking at the monotone gray ceiling. A bird sings outside of my window, and a sudden gust of wind flutters my curtains. The summer afternoon feels still, as if time had stopped for a brief moment. I think about all the things I've lost and I'll never regain. Yeah, the Iwanako chapters are always pretty sad. But I don't think he's ever written a reply to her before. That's new. Thus the languid days of mid-June pass by. By the way, I love this song. I mail my letter to Iwanako and receive no reply. Having decided to ditch the old me, I start observing my fellow students even closer than I did before, hoping to understand how other people cope with their own issues. I start seeing things I didn't before, and it makes me wonder if I've been wrong twice. Superficially, everyone is abnormal, yet so strikingly normal that it shocked me at first. I admired the way my new schoolmates turned my prejudices around just like that, simply by being themselves. Now that I've gotten used to it, I begin noticing other kinds of tones in the people surrounding me every day. There's this soft, numb sadness all around me. I can see the effort everyone has to make just to get through the day, and how it weighs on their shoulders like it weighs on mine. Even the brightest smile is just slightly subdued. Every outburst of annoyance just slightly dampened. It's subtle, but it's definitely there. I try to think of what it means, and what can I learn from others. I wonder if deep down everyone is as lost as I am. Is there even one person in here who has truly found peace? I start to feel doubtful about myself once again. I can't decide whether these people are happy, unhappy, or if they've just learned to cope and now live in an unfeeling limbo like I did all spring. I skip from these feelings into the towering piles of books I carry to my room from Yuko's sanctuary. After realizing this will just shut me down even more, I start going to the art club's room more often, usually whenever I can. Rin, too, seems to spend more time in there than in her own classroom. I've often seen her totter towards the door at the very end of our corridor. That wooden door and the room behind it, smelling of paint and paper, seem to mean more to her than the rest of the world combined. She says she has special permission to use the room, which I don't doubt at all. I don't think Nomiya would deny Rin anything. He seems to dote on her like an uncle upon a favorite niece. The object of his affection, however, has no favorites. She says she appreciates the teacher a lot for going the extra mile for her sake, but even when she says that, her expression's the same as always. It's as if she was talking about a particularly unremarkable rock that she saw the other day. I can't really figure out their relationship. Rin doesn't seem to let anyone close. I don't think even Emmy could say she's crossed the gap that seems to separate Rin from the rest of the world. I don't understand it. She seems so indifferent, yet so passionate at the same time. Somewhere, the school bells ring the last call of the day. I realize I've been zoning out for who knows how long. Dazed, I sit up straighter, trying to look as inconspicuous as possible. The pungent smells of linseed oil and turpentine mix in my nostrils as I draw a deep breath. I feel drowsy and lightheaded. It's already this late, and a few club members left early, so it's just me, Rin, the teacher, and 2 other girls who are also about to leave. Rin is sitting to my right, slowly working on a painting while I'm idling the time away. I don't think she realizes I've been watching her this whole time. With a nimble move of her delicate ankle, she dips the brush into crimson paint and presses it lightly into the canvas. A stain spreads around as if the brush was bleeding. Her progress has slowed down to a crawl. By now I've learned this is dangerous for her technique, as the paint must not be allowed to dry before she's finished. It occurs to me that I'm literally watching paint dry, and yet somehow I'm not feeling bored, despite spacing out just now. Most of the time, the art club is very relaxed and freeform. Apart from times when Nomiya gets really excited about some technique or style he wants to teach us about, everyone's free to pursue their own interests. Lacking one, I keep floating around without a direction. I try this and that, but nothing really leaves me with a deeper impression, not to mention that I don't seem to have a special knack for anything. Well, I did get praise for my attempt at watercolors, and I felt pretty good about that myself, but that's it. I suppose it's to be expected. I joined the art club mostly on a whim, after all. I'm thinking that maybe I should quit the club, if it's going to be this pointless. There's nothing really wrong with pointlessness, and I can't exactly say I'm unhappy. Unsatisfied maybe, but I've only got myself to blame for that. As the pair of girls exit the club room with a cheerful bye-bye, Namiya stands up from his desk. His chair scoots back with a loud screech that breaks the harmony of this quiet afternoon. He taps a pile of papers in his hands twice against the tabletop in order to straighten them, then stretches his back. I have a faculty meeting to attend, so I can't stay. I'll have to do some paperwork later, so if you want to stay, we can talk then. Sorry about this. There are 2 people here, but he's really talking to only one of us. Namiya spends extra hours of his time mentoring Rin after official club hours are over, and I'll bet he'd like to discuss his plan of getting Rin's art into a gallery a little more.
It's alright. I think I'll probably be here, but it's not a big deal if I'm not. I don't really have much going on right now.
Rin answers without moving her eyes from her work in progress. The tone of her voice is neither the polite kind expected when talking to a teacher, nor her usual monotone. So I won't need to send a search party if you aren't here?
Yes, no thanks. I don't like to party. We can talk later.
Good girl. Smiling, the teacher picks up the rest of his papers and makes his way to the door. I glance at the clock above it and then my watch to double check. They're 3 minutes apart, but nevertheless the club's meeting time is over now. Rin seems intent on staying here to work on her piece while waiting for the teacher. I can't quite imagine what their one-on-one time would be like. Would they actually discuss anything? Rin is always so subdued in what she says, and when she does say something, it's difficult to understand what she's talking about. Maybe Namiya just talks endlessly like he does at club meetings, letting Rin absorb what she will from his infinite well of art knowledge, like a sunflower turning the face of the glowing sun. Do you mind if I stay? I thought maybe I'd give watercolors another try. I blurt out the excuse sort of accidentally, embarrassing myself. Rin doesn't take her eyes off her painting.
Okay.
I shift around in my chair, then get to fetching a cup of water, brushes, colors, and some paper. The sound of my footsteps invades the still afternoon air. Before starting, I try to recall what the teacher told us, an important philosophy of the medium. Working with watercolors means more working with water than working with color. I try to keep that in mind and dip my tiny sable brush into the water cup. I'm mixing yellow and blue, trying to capture the sunlit treetops outside of the window. The sun is low, so the yellows are more pronounced and everything looks darker. I still can't quite connect what I see with what my hand does with the paints, but it's a passable attempt for my level. After a while, I start losing my focus and move the paper aside, deciding to watch Rin work for a while instead. That little while stretches first into a long while, then into a really long while. Rin paints, her entire being fully concentrated on the brush between her slender toes and the painting coming to life one stroke at a time. She seems determined and yet at the same time relaxed, effortlessly moving the brush around, never hesitating. Colors meet and part, mix and cover each other on their canvas, bending to her quiet will. I don't know anything about composition, structure, or any of that stuff, but I really like Rin's paintings. I like how she looks when she paints. As usual, the silence between us compels me to speak rather than merely wait for her to open up. She might end up saying nothing at all. Do you mind if we talk?
I don't mind.
I kinda want to ask more about why you get so weird about this thing the teacher wants to arrange for you. Rin picks up a tube of paint and squeezes it between her toes on a palette almost as easily as someone with opposable thumbs would. Taking up a brush again, she replies,
A lot of things, and some not things. Unthings. I don't think that's a word.
Do you want to talk about it? I try to reach out to her clumsily, ignoring the embarrassing feeling of awkwardness. Rin keeps her focus on the painting, spreading more and more paint on the canvas, her lips forming a perfectly straight line as she concentrates on the job.
Not really. Talking is hard. I mean, it's not hard. I'm talking even now. But saying the right things is really hard for me. No matter what, I just can't say the things I want.
That sounds weird.
It's true. I say all kinds of things that I don't really mean all the time. And sometimes I forget words, and then I use the wrong words. I even come up with new words for things that already have some. That's the worst thing. I get really nervous, and everything comes out a mess, and even I don't really understand what I want to say. I think there's something wrong with me that makes it like this. Remember when I said I can only think of 4 things at the same time?
I nod wordlessly.
It's not really 4. I mean, it is 4, but everything else is also there, kind of in the background. Like being at an amusement park and a beehive at the same time. But that's not the point. I used to do better. Like 6 or 7 things, I think so at least. I feel like I'm becoming dumber.
I think everyone has times when they feel like they can't say the right things.
But it's there, all the time. Stronger and deeper. Yeah, deeper is a good word. I like that word. Deeper. It's that feeling of being underwater. Maybe it's just art. The more I paint, the more words I forget. Maybe at some point I'll forget how to speak completely. It feels like I'm slowly forgetting everything. Do you remember what you thought about things 3 or 4 years ago? I don't.
A long pause ensues, during which time seems to bend around itself, almost tying itself into a knot. I don't think I've ever heard Rin talk this earnestly and for so long about anything before.
It's like I'm fading away from the world.
Rin's foot has stopped its work on the canvas and she's staring at her painting, unmoving, as if gazing at some faraway horizon. Sunlight briefly glints in the corner of her onyx eyes. Something floats up into the top layer of Rin's being and she lets out a long breath. Then she blinks and it's gone.
Paintings stay behind. When I look at my old things, I remember what I was thinking back when I made them. They make me feel like I can be with all the past me's when I was a different me. I guess they're the proof of my existence.
She uses the exact same words Namiya used when he spoke to us of the nature of art. I didn't think Rin was paying any attention back then. I wonder if she was listening, or whether she had the same passionate speech from Namiya before. Either way, I feel overwhelmed. Boy, are you complicated. I would have taken up writing a diary. Jerk. Her eyes quickly flickered in my direction and then back to the painting, but she doesn't pick up the brush anymore.
That's a great idea. Why didn't I ever think of that?
Are you being sarcastic?
What sarcasm?
I don't call her on the joke if it is one. Right at that moment, Namiya returns from his meeting. He waves to us a very melodramatic hello, mildly surprised to see me here along with his pet student. Walking with a boisterous gait to his desk, he drops his papers upon it. He picks up a handkerchief and cleans his glasses with incredibly meticulous care before walking over to us. Before he's within earshot of us, Rin says something to me in a quick, quiet voice.
Change is the scariest thing in the world to me. And I seriously don't know if I want to change into a person who could do the thing the teacher wants me to do. I don't know if I could, even if I wanted to.
Hello again! Hello.
Hello.
What's going on? He smiles a bit sheepishly, looking at both of us with uninhibited interest. Nothing. We were just talking about that thing with your acquaintance in the gallery. For Rin's works, sort of. Oh, any decisions? Look at Rin, who's trying to arrange the bothered expression on her face into something else. Anyway, I don't think I have much else to say, other than that you should go for it. I think you'd be a big hit. It isn't like you at all to hesitate like this, because it would be exciting. Okay, why is there 3 options here? Anyway, I don't think I have much else to say, other than that you should go for it, because you would be a big hit. Because it isn't like you at all to hesitate like this. Because it would be exciting. This is tough. I think you'd be a big hit. That's... No. No, not this one. I'm just saying. No, not this one. It isn't like you at all to hesitate like this. Or because it would be exciting. I'm gonna be honest, I don't feel comfortable with any of these choices, but I'm gonna go with it isn't like you at all to hesitate like this. This isn't like you. You told me that people should do things they can't just because they can. And now you're being all wishy-washy yourself about something this important.
I don't think I want to talk about this. I'm going.
Rin stands up and trots out of the room without anyone saying anything more. I'm sorry, I think I made her upset. Don't worry about it. She'll be fine, I'm sure. I'll talk to her later. Namiya looks at me over his circular pink glasses, smiling sympathetically. Oh. You made friends with her then, Nakai? Well, something like that, I guess. Depends on how you look at it. To be honest, I'm not really sure. It's more like me and Rin just tend to hang around each other regularly, talking or not about something that more often resembles some twisted mockery of philosophy rather than normal, everyday things that friends chat about. Well, that's all good, isn't it? You're a new student and we should be promoting integration to the student body and such. I can't remember all the buzzwords I spew at faculty and Yamaku formation meetings, but that's how it is. Tezuka isn't the most social person around these parts either. Yeah, that's definitely true. So she's talked about my suggestion to you? Oh, no, not really. I think it's been more me pressing her to decide something maybe I shouldn't have. No, I'm sure it's fine. I'm too soft with her, even when I shouldn't. I don't really know how to handle Tezuka. She's so independent and willful. I wonder if this is what every old geezer of an art teacher who got his hands on a young and fiery prodigy felt like. He chuckles ironically to himself a little bit, turning to face Rin's latest work, which she left drawing on the easel. She departed so abruptly that I wonder if she considers it actually finished. So, let's see the painting then. He leans in closer, peering at the canvas. It draws you in, doesn't it? Nomiya stands back straight, his face a dreamy, nostalgic visage. I don't answer him, but as he seems to be taking my agreement as a given. I sometimes stay here after hours just to look at Tezuka's paintings. She's really just prodigious, and at such a young age. I get shivers just thinking of what she could become with a few more years of refinement. You ask what makes an artist, remember? This is it. They take a piece of the world and reshape it in their own image. Metaphorically, of course. Looking at her makes you wonder what the world looks like through her eyes. It's a wonderful thing to be young and full of passion. The most extraordinary time of your life. You would do well to remember that, Nakai.
Yes, sir.
So silly. People always ask artists, where do you get your ideas? As if ideas were something sold at the market for pocket change. You can't explain inspiration. People like Tezuka, it's like breathing. It's an instinct. I've met maybe one or two with the same kind of raw potential, but no amount of potential will amount to anything if one doesn't work to realize it. It's practice, technique, skill. Draw for an hour every day for a few years, and even the most hopeless case becomes a passable artist. Tezuka is not brilliant because she was born with a natural talent for this kind of thing. She's brilliant because she works harder than anyone, ever since she learned how to hold a pen, most likely. And all of it with her feet, no less. Absolutely phenomenal.
Silence finally lands in the classroom as Nomiya lets himself get drawn back into Rin's painting, gently murmuring acceptance towards the still wet canvas. What kind of things do you paint yourself? As if waking from a reverie, he looks at me, surprised by my talking to him.
Oh, I don't. Not anymore. I became an art teacher only after my career in that field came to an end. Now I just pass on knowledge to the next generation.
The way Nomiya answers is curious, both giving and withholding information. I feel like asking more, but he cuts in before I get the chance.
Now you should run along, my boy. It's almost dinner time, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Have a good evening.
You too.
I quickly collect my stuff and step out into the deserted hallway, leaving the teacher alone with his musings. Well, the weekend will be here soon. It's amazing how fast time flies here. I promised Emmy I'd join her for the celebration of her triumph at the track meet last week. The track meet last week. That should be plenty of fun. I sure hope I picked the right option out of the three. I remember back when I was first starting this series, and a few times in between because I had to look at it. I downloaded this image of a Katawa Shoujo flowchart that shows you like where all the choices lead and everything. I didn't pay too much close attention to the actual choices in the routes, just how to get there. But I remember glancing at Rin's route, and her route looped. It was so long it couldn't fit in the whole image, so they had to loop it back up. And that there were so many decisions in Rin's routes and so many outcomes. I'm just a little worried if I'm choosing the right ones. Are you sure you want to go? The weather that has been wonderful for all of June has finally taken a turn for the worse. The leaden clouds drooping over the town look worrisome, and the air feels heavy and still, just like before rain. The forecast says there's a 60% chance of rain this afternoon. Maybe this will mark the beginning of the rainy season. Of course I'm sure! I've been waiting for this all week! Emmy had planned a picnic at some nearby park with snacks aplenty bought from the convenience store, but with the weather this gloomy, it seems risky. I asked some other people to come too, but they didn't want to go because of the weather. We have to prove them wrong. Wrong how? You know, like how it always rains when you think it won't, and when you think it will, it doesn't. We'll go no matter what, so it's a win-win situation. I've been going without sweets for weeks because of practice for the track meet, but now I can splurge on anything I want. Nothing is going to stop me now. I thought you were all about a healthy lifestyle and stuff. Oh, Sal, you understand so little. There's not a single girl on this planet who doesn't love sweets. I don't like sweets. She doesn't count. Anyways, is this clear? Completely. We'll go and eat her full of sweets. Damn straight we will. I'm gonna have to work it off later, but it's so worth it. Emmy seems to be extremely determined about this. She's positively exhilarated, brimming with energy as always, but something seems special today. It looks like she can hardly stop herself from jumping up and down on the spot. Come on! I grasp the wooden handle of the umbrella I brought and start to follow the two girls, who seem to have no qualms about leaving me behind if I keep daydreaming. My umbrella is really fancy, the old-fashioned kind with a curved handle and a metal spike at the end. It used to belong to my grandfather. It looks like an antique, but it's in really good shape, almost as good as new. It's really big, too. I remember how my grandfather, my grandmother, and I all fit neatly under it when a rainstorm caught us on an afternoon walk years ago when I was around 9 or 10.
My grandparents are both gone now, but I still have the umbrella to keep me dry when it rains. Hey, that's a new bit of lore. We walk along the road leading down from the school towards the convenience store, the clouds casting their dark shadow down on us. The weather seems to be taking a turn for the worse, and I'm pretty sure I just felt a raindrop on my head. Didn't you guys think of taking umbrellas? It really looks like it'll rain. Rin looks at her limply hanging sleeves and shrugs her shoulders.
I don't have one. Besides, a little rain won't kill us.
She pushes her chest out, looking very confident about that.
We aren't made of sugar.
I thought this was exactly what girls were made of, especially considering that you're planning to gorge yourself on today. She just sticks out her tongue in reply. The walk down from the school to the local shopping district isn't a long one, but it's not short either. It's all downhill, so our steps roll easily, but time stretches out nevertheless. The distance is right there, in that gray area where you don't expect the trip to be quickly over with, but you aren't preparing for a long walk either. Thus, the trip is slightly too long to stay comfortably quiet the whole time, though the girls don't seem to mind. Rin walks calmly ahead, seemingly lost in thought. I'm kind of wary about starting a conversation, since the last time didn't end very well for either of us. Oh. I haven't exchanged a single word with her since then. Emmy, on the other hand, is way too happy about just walking. She seems to literally jump a little on every step, or skip over cracks, or balance on the edge of the sidewalk. Every now and then she comments on something to which Rin replies in an automatic-sounding, nonsensical way that makes Emmy giggle a little. As we reach the bottom of the hill, the first raindrops begin to fall. I feel one hit the top of my head, then two more hit my nose in quick succession. It's not one or two rain clouds anymore. The entire sky has turned shadowy gray, billowing rain clouds swirling around top of us.
Oh, shoot. I guess we're gonna have a picnic then.
What now? You already know. You already know where we're going. In every route.
Maybe we could have a rain picnic. A picnic in rain. No, we'd all just catch a cold, and unlike me, or getting my snacks wet.
I kind of like it.
Not the snacks part, though.
Emmy considers our problematic situation for a moment while I open my umbrella, lift it up, trying to hold it so that all three of us get covered.
Hey, Asao, have you been to the Shanghai yet?
It's a cafe somewhere around here, right? I've heard of it. In every route.
It's a nice place. Let's go there and wait out the rain. If it's just a really quick shower, we can still go for the picnic. If it gets worse, we'll just order cake there instead.
Neither Rin nor I have had better ideas, so with Emmy taking the lead, we start walking briskly along a side street. The cafe is only a few blocks away, but even with the umbrella, we can't avoid getting slightly damp. The rain keeps coming down harder and harder. Raindrops leave tiny dots on the black asphalt road, which is then combined into bigger patches like pointless artwork being made in the front of our eyes in mere seconds. It's pouring heavily, drumming on the hoods of the cars parked on the sides of the street, and already flowing in little creeks along the sidewalks. The yellow light shining through the rainwater streaming down the windows looks very warm and inviting. Oh. One of the best songs in the game right here. Red Velvet, right? That's what the song's called? Yeah. I shake the excess water off the umbrella and head inside with them, following Emmy to a vacant table in the furthest corner of the small cafe. The place is almost full. Apparently other people had the same idea as Emmy, and now we're all stranded together here in this cozy little place. Varnished wooden pillars and paper screens mixed with Parisian-style papers and chairs in discordant harmony, a contrast of old and new. Light jazz plays quietly in the background, though it's mostly drowned out by the murmur of the customers. There's only one waitress serving the full house, frantically gliding from one table to another and trying to keep up with everything. To my surprise, I think I recognize her. Me too, dude. I watch her deliver a tray of teacups and pastries to another table taken by Yamaki students, then take an order from a middle-aged couple sitting across from us before finally turning to serve us. Hugo? Now that she's close and facing me, I can see that it really is her, the part-time librarian of Yamaku in full waitress attire. It's a pretty cute outfit, and she has her tied... Okay, just stumbling on my words, I guess. It's a pretty cute outfit, and she has tied her hair up in buns to match. It's a completely different image from her mousy, plain style at her other job. Yuko blinks a few times, looking confused, then remembers that she was about to say something.
Welcome to the Shanghai.
So you work here too? I thought you were a university student or something.
Yes, that too. It's, part-time job, as you can see. It's Sunday, so there aren't any lectures. Good thing, too, since today's been so busy, I'm wishing for another pair of hands. Anyway, I'm a bit of a rush, as you can see. What can I get you today?
Emmy doesn't hesitate for even a second. Her eyes glitter like those of a kid in a candy store.
Tea for everyone, and, cake for me.
Yuko tries to stay as formal and professional looking as possible, smiling cheerily at my ravenous companion.
Yes, today we have a choice of strawberry shortcake, raspberry layer cake, or a lemon meringue pie. Strawberry, no. Lemon, no, actually I'll take both.
She looks at me in challenge. I'll take just the pie.
Nothing.
Emmy makes a face at Rin as though she had been bitten into a lemon. She's clearly unhappy with her for not joining in.
Oh, come on, Rin, that's not polite at all. Nothing, thank you. No, you silly. I mean that you should order something too. I'll take a straw then. My feet are all wet. Sorry? The drinking kind of straw. One, please.
Yuko is obviously uncertain of what to think about this. She fiddles with her pen and stationery for a moment, looking like she's about to cry, before deciding that we finished ordering.
Thank you very much.
Funny little bow animation. She bows down a little bit too deeply and scampers to safety behind the counter. After that ordeal is over with, I have a chance to relax a bit and take a better look at the surroundings. Almost every table is occupied by people happy to be out of the rain, thankfully sipping their tea while waiting to dry off. Fragments of grumbling about the lazy weather or discussions over recent homework carry over from nearby tables to my ears. Each one overlaps the other, but all are covered by the sound of falling rain. After a while, Yuko returns to our table, carrying a tray with a huge teapot, 3 cups, a slice of cake, and 2 slices of pie. She slaps the tray into her tiny table with a clatter, almost sending the teapot toppling over into Rin's lap. We barely recover before she bows again and leaves, hurrying off to serve the other customers. I feel so bad for Yuko. Emmy has been eyeing her strawberry cake very hungrily all this time, but somehow she's managed to contain herself until Yuko is out of sight. She digs in with gusto while I content myself with pouring tea for everyone and placing the straw in Rin's cup. Rin looks at the way the tea swirls round and round in her white china cup, her eyes half closed, almost like she's being hypnotized. I pick up my fork and eye the food in front of me. The pie I got looks perfectly done, a thick layer of meringue, atop creamy lemon custard. After having the first bite, I pause, savoring the combination of tangy citrus and smooth, sugary meringue. It's quite good, though a bit too sweet for me. How many times are you gonna make me pronounce meringue, game?
Very good. Very good.
She's talking through a mouthful of cake, already halfway through a slice, even though it's not exactly small.
I want to taste some of that.
Before I get to respond, she strikes out of my delicious pie, takes a piece with her fork, and escapes with it.
This is pretty good too.
What are you doing? You have a slice of your own.
Yeah, but if you started on that before finishing the cake, it'd be rude, don't you think?
Her insolence is outrageous, but the gentleman in me allows for no retaliation. I glare angrily at her, and she replies by sticking out her tongue impishly. Emmy is even more hyper than usual today, but I don't mind. It's good for her to let off some steam. I take another sip of the tea in my cup. It's good and hot, even though I don't usually care much for tea, and the atmosphere in the cafe is very relaxing. I don't mind spending the rest of the afternoon here, not even after Emmy orders her second piece of strawberry cake, and Rin spends most of the time staring fixedly at the rain streaming down from the heavens. Even Yuko rolls her eyes at the third piece of cake disappearing into Emmy's bottomless stomach just as quickly as the previous two. Despite the passing of time, it's still raining outside when we exit Shanghai, though it seems to be letting up a little. Too bad I had to rain on your parade.
Weren't we supposed to have a picnic?
Emmy doesn't look too distraught over this turn of events.
Nah, it's fine. We had a good time, didn't we? I feel really pumped up. It isn't even raining that hard anymore. I kinda wanna hike back to school to get rid of this energy and work off some of that cake. She stretches her arms out and arches her back like a cat. After rolling her shoulders around twice, she smiles brightly. Man, I can't really run with these legs, though especially uphill. I wish I brought my other ones.
This notion sounds odd spoken so casually, but I guess for Emmy, changing legs is sort of like someone else changing shoes.
Maybe if I walk really fast, I'll be kind of like running. I think I'll do that.
I won't be able to keep up with that going uphill, though. I really am in bad shape. Plus, you'll get wet without an umbrella.
It's hardly even a drizzle now. A few drops won't hurt. I think I'm gonna go to the track after I change my legs, too.
Emmy skips away from the protection of my umbrella and goes on ahead at a brisk pace. Suddenly, she seems to remember something as she stops and spins around.
See you tomorrow. Come eat lunch with us on the roof. I'll bring enough for 3.
Rin and I are left to watch her wave at us and skip off again. Soon she disappears around a street corner. I'll never understand why Emmy is perpetually in such a hurry to get somewhere. So, would you like me to walk you back to school so that at least one of you won't get wet?
If you're happy with it.
It seems neither of us wants to keep alive the strained atmosphere from the argument a few days ago in the art room, which makes me feel relieved. I don't want to bear grudges, and I'm happy that Rin feels the same way. Thus, it is decided that we are content with each other's company for now, and we start walking in the same direction as Emmy, albeit at a considerably calmer pace. I get a bit closer to Rin, even though the umbrella is already big enough to shelter us both. I can feel her nearby warmth providing a contrast to the chill of this rainy weather. Raindrops hitting the umbrella make a distinctive sound, playing the staccato melody of rainfall for nobody in particular. I realize I haven't been outside in the rain in what feels like forever, I imagine. I inhale, taking in the scent of rain, feeling the weather with all my senses. The world melts into a blur inside the rain. The colors of the sky have deepened from gray to dark blue, with hues of red added to the mix from sunlight reflecting off the clouds. The low-hanging sky looks pretty, as if I could reach out my hand and touch it. Have I told you how much I like rain? It's like painting. It makes you feel connected. Almost echoing my thoughts, Rin lets out some of her own. It slips out of her mouth, circling around us gently. Everything looks so soft, like the outlines of things just disappear. I like that. It's like the rain's hugging me. Her voice sounds different from usual, more gentle now and soft. I wonder if it's only because of the rain or because of the mood the rain brought upon the quiet artist girl. I feel that mood in myself too, enhanced by her words. Yeah, I like rainy weather too. It's nice every once in a while. I wonder what it is about the rain. Everything. A silence follows a statement, as it allows for no continuation. I decide to push the direction of the conversation a little. But, if you like the feeling of being connected, what's the problem with showing your paintings to others? Don't you want to be connected to other people? It's not the same thing. You're comparing apples and squids. I brought up the subject Rin wants to avoid, and it shuts her down again. The question stays hanging between us for the rest of the trip back to school, and I can't help wondering what on earth I could have said to truly reach Rin. Does she feel that she's lacking an identity? She has a strong personality, but if pressed to elaborate, I'm not sure I could describe it accurately. She feels like a person who's in constant conflict with herself. I never know what to expect when I talk to her. I wonder how she herself experiences that disconnect. If Rin is asking herself every day, who am I, and obsessively paints images to define herself day after day, what does she think of that way of living? The irony is, that's the exact same question I've been asking myself for the past 4 or 5 months. For me, it was miserable. I can only assume that's natural state of being for this girl. When we stop in front of the dormitories, Rin turns to face me as if sensing my thoughts from afar. Her gaze travels emptily past my left shoulder into the shapeless rainfall. Her dark eyes seem to suck the low ambient light into themselves like a reverse mirror. That empty gaze lets nothing out. If I want to understand what's going on behind those eyes, I have to work it out myself. Rin opens her mouth, then closes it without saying anything. The silence lasts for a few more moments before she takes a step towards the dorm building door. See you tomorrow. Huh. That was really introspective. Anyway, I think that's all the time I have for this video. We've been going for I've been going for an hour and 10 minutes, but for you guys, this will probably be 2 videos separated. Glad I got a chance to record some more. Oh, I'm really liking this route so far. I don't know, there's just something about the writing that, I don't know, it really gets me. I don't know. I like it a lot, and I like the direction the story's going. Anyway, that's all the time I have for today, and I'll see you next time for more Rin. I'll see you then. Peace.